Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans, pro football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Show, a weekly endeavor. And it seems like every week I've got a different co-pilot. Like last week I had Eddie George, man. He took control and almost looped this thing. But I've got a guy, I know he can flip it. And his name is Drue Chrisman, former punter for The Ohio State University, now punter for the Cincinnati Bengals. Working on that original contract he had. And we're going to get into some details about, the circuitous route you take to finally become a starting punter in the National Football League, the Shield. But Drue Chrisman, welcome to the Tim May Show, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tim. Anytime.
And there's been been millions. There's been hundreds of thousands of guys who've signed an NFL contract. So that's not the crux of this story. There are very few, maybe I'm wrong, you might be the only one, but there probably are few active NFL players who on the side just decided to do a DoorDash career. And that's what, as you all know, I immediately messaged you the other day when I was watching one of your various videos. I guess it's strapped or body videos or head videos of you making deliveries with DoorDash, collecting your tips or whatever, and turn around and buying meals for homeless or even sometimes handing homeless the cash or whatever. But number one, what's wrong with you, man?
Hey, I mean, if anybody should know, you should know, Tim. I'm not your typical football player, and I don't know.
Wait a minute. You know why? You're a punter. Now go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I'm a specialist. Naturally, we're quirky in our own way. And I think I just got a little extra fairy dust in that category. And I'm running with it. This is my brainchild at the moment. And I'm having as much fun as ever. I don't know. There were some bottle flip videos that might have, passed this moment at the moment. But we'll see where we can take this.
Oh, no, that bottle flipping, man, that took you places. Just think if there'd been name, image, and likeness deals back then, if there'd been collectives, I mean, the amount of cash you would have, it's crazy the guys who missed out, man. You know what I mean? Right?
Just by a year.
Yeah.
My face could have been on the Sonny bottle. Who knows?
Yeah, but I mean, it could have been several years while you were at the Ohio State University plying your trade, trying to become a big time punter, which you did, and then now in the National Football League. But let's get back to the DoorDash thing real quick because it's intriguing. Because number one, there's a goodwill gesture involved with this, but just the entertainment value of these videos. Number one, what intrigues you or what enticed you to start recording them, I guess, on video instead of just doing it? Because their video is what really makes it, as far, you're taking people along.
Right. Well, yeah, I did it first. Didn't really record it. Didn't post anything, and I haven't really. If you've been familiar with my social media the last couple of years, I haven't really posted too much. Certainly not as much as I did in college. At this level, you feel like you gotta walk on eggshells. You're kind of scared to put anything out there that might rub someone the wrong way. College, you got a little bit more freedom, but here, there's only 32 jobs, and especially at my position, I'm very replaceable. I have seen that time and time again in a few years that I've been in this business. And so I've been, really playing it safe and just kind of focusing on football itself. And obviously it's worked out. I was able to make it crack through the starting roster last year, but a part of me missed that college, just that creative energy that I had, creating videos, whether it was just doing bottle flipping or whatnot. And while I was doing this, I was like, this would make a great video. I am really enjoying it. I'm having a great time doing it. Very therapeutic in a way, relaxing, just how simple it is. I load up an app, I get an order, I pick it up, go deliver to somebody and make their day. I was like, that's just a whole story in itself right there. That could be a whole video right there. So I saw a guy actually doing it on Instagram already. And so he kind of showed me like, this is something people enjoy. And so I just tried it myself and to put a little bit of a different spin on it at the end, and the charitable way that I like to do, and I did in college, even with the bottle flipping. So
some guy's watching. He calls his wife in and goes, "Look, they don't pay those punters enough for them to even make a living. They've got to deliver DoorDash."
They used to do that back in the day in the summer. I mean,
Johnny Unitas,
not like it used to be.
You you name any big time NFL players from the 60s and 70s, they all had part time or maybe full time jobs. They played football part time. You know what I'm saying, right?
Right. It's gotten a little out of hand as of late, that's for sure.
Yeah. Real quick though, the one I like best so far was when you were trying to deliver cookies to the, I think to the police department or something, and you end up in the jail, and or you end up in one of where the processing department of maybe where they bring criminals in, get them processed or whatever, and you keep going in the wrong doors and stuff. And finally, you find the guy who ordered the cookies for the police department. I'm really stunned that they weren't donuts, but they were cookies. But that was interesting one. I mean, you didn't get in trouble, but because you get that little innocent look about you, right? But that was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, you act like you're you're in the right place. People
Yeah,
just let you go through, and certainly if you tell them you got some cookies and you're looking for somebody, they don't really bat an eye. And I very well could have just walked all the way up to a jail cell and might just got in a bunk with a guy, and I don't think anybody would have said anything for a little bit until the guy got hungry and was missing his cookies. But
yeah,
eventually we got the cookies to him. It was all good. But yeah, that's the beauty of it. I never know when I take an order, what my route and what story is gonna, lie ahead for the next 10-15 minutes. And it's crazy. Just every single order has whole new world of opportunity. So
yeah. Like your map app took you to the shortcut to get to one place. And what do you know? You took it up 3 flights of stairs. You had to take your bike up 3 flights of stairs and then down 3 flights of stairs. What, across a freeway or something? But it has been an adventure, right? You've even gone across the river, right?
yeah,
Along.
I mean, right
I
there
don't
in
want to get play
Cincinnati,
by
you
play
got.
too much here, but I think these are all intriguing. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, right there in Cincinnati, you're kind of right on the border, and yeah, I have many deliveries where I'm in Kentucky, and the only way to get over it is just go by going over a bridge. So, um, yeah, there's certainly no lack of workout to this as well, and that was a big reason why I initially started it at the
Right.
beginning. Was to just get a little extra conditioning at this time, not really for the money per se, but just we get a break this time. Not really. Everybody kind of goes their own way, and it's not like college where I got Coach Mick in my ear all the time.
Yeah.
This is really the season. In some parts, it just never stops in college. Here, it's kind of up to your own personal regimen. And I thought about getting a Peloton. I enjoyed cycling while in college. Plus, as a punter, directly correlates to my career as leg strength. And I don't know, something about me just was not willing to dish out that money and the membership. So DoorDash found a way into my life, and I'm getting a heck of a workout from it for sure.
Yeah, I hate to scare you, but I think you're a little bit like me in the sense too, though. I've got a bike, and even though I'm 69, I ride it occasionally, but I've almost got to be going somewhere. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like I got to have an end goal there, not just a big old circuit, And the worst thing I ever like doing, is going one way and then turn right and coming right back the same way, especially if there are hills involved. No, but you know what I mean. You've given yourself purpose to your exercise, and I think it's ingenious. But explain to people too. Let's get back to the end result here about what you're doing with the tips, the money you make. Like the spillage you had on that pizza, where you still got the delivery still counted. But the lady got her money back, but you still got paid what, $3.13. But all of that money that you're getting from the DoorDash, explain people what you're doing with it.
Yeah, so naturally I did it for a workout, but then it is a job as well. People do this for a career. Now, maybe not necessarily on a bike. Most people do it in a car. It is whenever I deliver to someone with pulling up on my bike, they kind of give me a weird look. Probably has to do with me having a giant GoPro on my head as well. But yeah, you do rack up some money, especially during lunch rush. I can pull probably $50 to $70 just in a couple hour span, and
Wow.
it just kind of accumulates. And I was looking at the bank statement one weekend, and I had like over $200 in it, and I was like, I feel like I can do something with this. And I kind of thought back to when I go on a delivery and what I would see, and I see kind of a need in the city. Seeing it from that perspective on the bike, I didn't really see that before, just driving into work and driving back home. But being on that ground level and going through the streets and the alleys, you really get to see some of the not as pleasant parts of Cincinnati, and I felt like just a little bit of money that I was racking up could go help to a bigger cause, and certainly filming it struck a chord with some people as well, and me donating the food that I would buy with that money. It's really turned into something more than I can even imagine. I mean, just today, I've just been cycling through different DMs of local restaurants that are reaching out to me and wanting to support this cause as well. And I've even had people Venmo just their own money. I
Wow.
think just a couple hours ago, I had reached over like $200 on in my Venmo account. That's like it's like a whole week of DoorDash right there, just saving me. Now I can go out and use that money to even grow this little idea that I've had
Yeah.
even more so.
Well, I mean, Gold Star, what Chili there, which is the competitor with Skyline,
Yeah.
uh, what donated 200 meals, right? That you can distribute to whomever you want. I mean, that's part of it too, right? I mean, it is. We're not. This is really catching fire. It was smoke a little bit with a little bit of spark. Now it's kind of catching fire, and I'm not even sure you admit to cause a fire, right?
It hasn't even been a week since I've posted. What to say? Yeah, today's Friday. It has been actually a week today since I posted the first video,
Wow.
and all of a sudden I have probably over. Yeah, like you said, Gold Star is offering 250 meals. Skyline itself got a little bit on the action, and I'm in works with them, and they're wanting to get in on as well. So we might have a little bit of a battle of the chilies one weekend if we can give away some chili there. But yeah, it's like I said, it's taken it way further than I even expected. I was just hoping to make a couple of videos, people to relax at the end of the day, enjoy it, and it certainly turned into something more. And I don't think I would have wanted it any other way.
Hey, Drew, though, I don't want to get sappy here, but it is. Has it struck you even in a week that some people are pretty nice? You know what I mean? I mean, they understand there's a cause there. I mean, obviously there's some celeb involved, even with people who get involved with you, but their willingness to get involved. I mean, this is just going to get bigger in the way I figured it out here. I hope you've packed a few extra tires on there, but not spare tires, but tires for your bike. I'm gonna get that in a minute. But is it intriguing you already that the humankind, man, they do like to help in one form or fashion, right?
Oh, for sure. And yeah, like you mentioned, the celebrity. I mean, certainly being a Bengal, I think that helps gain some more notoriety. I doubt if I wasn't, this probably wouldn't been as big of a thing. Certainly not as quickly.
Yeah.
I think even back to the college days, people viewing my bottle flip videos, I probably would have just been another dude on the internet. But no, I was an Ohio State Buckeye doing bottle flips, and so that certainly has helped. I feel like promote this for sure, and that's something I feel like I kind of owe as having this platform. Being able to do something like that, and yeah, people are great. Certainly, that's certainly not the message I feel like is putting out there nowadays, but just from the little bit that I've seen and the reactions that I've had to this, I've really seen a different side of what I think most people view humanity is at the moment, and people really do want to give back. Like I said, complete strangers that are putting complete trust in me to be able to use the money they've sent me on Venmo to go do something for a greater cause, and they don't want any part of it. They don't want their name mentioned or nothing. They just want to help support this cause because they know it's going to help humankind in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, I mean, people are great, especially when you give them a chance like this, and yeah, who knows what it's going to turn into.
Here's what's going to happen. A couple 3 weeks from now, you're going to become the CEO of Chrisman Enterprises. You order, we deliver. Just like your punting last year, the way you delivered. Notice that little segue, but I'm not to the segue yet. That's just a hint of the segue. Exit coming, I guess, 2 miles. But you'll be the CEO, and then you'll be sitting on your fat butt, and getting out of shape while you're directing like Joe Burrow and these other guys to deliver, right? Is that the dream? Having Joe Burrow working for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's doing a pretty good job right
Yeah, I
now.
know. I'm messing
I
with
don't think
you.
he'll be hurting for money anytime soon, and he's
That
doing
would be
awesome.
pretty.
It,
Go
would-
ahead.
it would be funny, kind of turn around a little bit. But I think there's a lot of guys in the locker room that are doing similar things like that as well. You mentioned Joe Burrow. He's got I think he's got some kind of charity he does
Yeah.
with some people, and Sam Hubbard, another guy that I think does some stuff. We got a couple guys. The locker room is phenomenal. I think that is another reason why I'm not super scared to like put myself out there like this as well, because there's other guys in the same exact locker room that are doing other things that are benefiting the community as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the NFL applauds this. I mean, they like to put this puts a good face on the NFL. Let's put it that way. I wanted to ask you this: do you have a range limit, meaning not money wise? Do you have a range limit on a delivery?
So if you put it as bicycle on the app, I think it maxes it out at 3 miles. But that's 3 miles linear. I don't
Yeah,
think the map really takes into account the ups and downs. And hilly Cincinnati is a very big thing. And so I've learned to stay closer to downtown. Every now and then, like we mentioned, we go to Kentucky or whatnot, get a nice little sweat going. But if it's further than 2 miles away, I make sure to save that order for the end of the day, get one last little sweat in before I call it. But yeah, if you take the wrong order, accidentally hit the wrong order, and you're biking that way, you might be done for a couple days. You're gonna be pretty sore.
yeah. And let's get to this real quick. You were like you said, like you pointed out a little bit. You were known for your off-field activities, the flipping, et cetera. Although you did a lot of that on the field. And I was going to say this was an off-field thing, but no, it happened on the field when you proposed. And thankfully, thank goodness she said yes. And now y'all have a little kid, right? I mean, life's going pretty good, so to speak, right?
Not too bad. Yeah, thankfully she said yes, or yeah, I might not have finished as a Buckeye.
Yeah.
The transfer portal might have been the next closest thing I would have found after that stadium that day. But yeah, it worked out. Obviously, we got married, and so that worked out as well. And my little one just had her first birthday just 4 days ago, actually. So yeah, I'm very blessed, and I think that's another thing that what made me want to be able to get back a little bit, just kind of look at my own life. Like I certainly wouldn't have got to this point without a helping hand, and that's something I want to be able to do for somebody else as well, in some little or great way that I can.
All right. Let's take your journey to the NFL to finally a starting punter in the NFL. You got signed by the Cincinnati Bengals in 2021, right? I mean, free agent. Didn't get drafted. You're thinking, boy, I just get in. I'm going to wow them. I'm gonna punt punts they've never seen before, and I'm going to be on their roster. And next thing you know, I'm Ray Guy, 25 years in the league or whatever it was, from Southern Mississippi. I remember watching him punt as a youngster, but I digress. Didn't work out that way, right? I mean, it's like, let's just go through the litany. Give me the litany now. You sign with the Bengals, you get put on the practice squad, I think, and you get cut because to move you around, they've got to waive you or whatever. I mean, they're okay. Explain to people what all you went through up until you signed this latest contract. What, in December of last year? Do I have that right?
November. I think it was about
November?
end of November. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you became the starting punter for the Bengals. But explain to people what you went through in a nutshell.
It's been
in a nutshell.
It's been a ride. It's been a ride. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. It's hard to do that because
it's been a ride. I like how you keep like you keep throwing all those puns in there. You flipping. It's been a ride. Now go ahead.
Yeah. So that first year, 2021, didn't get drafted. Got picked up by the Bengals, thankfully, hometown team. It couldn't have worked out any better. I was like, this is perfect. Get hurt before training camp. Don't get really a chance to compete. And so the last film that I have is senior season of college. No NFL team wants to see your college tape, especially after you've already been in Yale. They want to see, preseason NFL tape to really prove that you can start that week. They need a replacement for their punter.
Yeah.
So I'm on the practice. Luckily, the Bengals signed me. They liked me enough to sign me on the practice squad. I think I'm cut, 2 or 3 weeks later because they need an extra tight end for that week, for that game. Somebody dinged something in practice or the week before. And that happened 5 or 6 times. So I had been fired from the NFL probably 5 or 6 times before even the first year had even come to a close on my rookie season. Fortunately, I signed a futures deal, came back this following year, this time got to compete. So I was able to get some fresh preseason film. Again, the Bengals liked me enough to keep me on the roster, and they actually kept me throughout the first half of the season. The starting punter had some struggles. He's 14 years in at this point. I mean, he's a phenomenal punter, Kevin Hubert,
yeah,
Cincinnati legend. I think just kind of fatigue on his leg after so long had kind of gotten to him. So they gave a chance to the younger, fresher, I guess second year in, but really rookie at this point. And I got to finish off the remainder of the season, and it was the best time I've ever had. I mean, like I said, playing for the hometown team, I couldn't have imagined anything better. And yeah, everybody's got their own journey to get to that point, be able to crack through the roster. Some people not even years further from what I even had to deal with. I've heard some stories where guys bounce around, different leagues, go to the CFL and everything like that. So I was honestly fortunate to even get to that point just after 2 years. So, but it's different. It's not college. It's a job. You really get to
Yeah.
see that side of it. There's no more, scholarships, and you're guaranteed to be back the next year and all of that. And it's a different side, but same time they pay you a king's ransom to play a kid's game. So you just gotta enjoy it, stay in as long as possible, because it's certainly not forever. NFL, not for long. So
Yeah, and as much as you wanted to break through and get that job, there's somebody wanting to break through and get your job, right? That's what you're talking about. It is show up. What have you done for me lately kind of league. You left that one little segue in there though too. You got signed by the Steelers at one point, right? Did you actually go to Pittsburgh? Did you actually end up in Pittsburgh for a couple of weeks,
I was in Pittsburgh for, I think it was about 4 days. It was during, there was still a COVID scare, and
yeah,
there was a little bit of a bug going around their locker room, and so they brought me back. They brought me to the practice squad. They had a Thursday night game, so I think I got signed on like Sunday after their game. So I was there for literally 4 days, and then cut the next day immediately after their guy had no issues with getting COVID or anything. But yeah, that's just another funny thing that can happen. You can be on one team one week, and then the next one you could be playing against them the following week. It's just funny. It's just how everything works out.
That's really nuts. How do you keep your sanity though? Because you want to put your best foot forward. Pardon another pun. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to get that shot. Do you feel like you almost have to be perfect? In practice every day. When you're on the practice squad, how do you deal with the sane sanity part of that?
Yeah, it can get to that point, because at this level, everything is just to the finest detail, and yeah, I think you just got to trust in yourself. And luckily, I'm surrounded by a great support system. I'm still living back at home. I'm driving home to Lawrenceburg, Indiana, which is a half hour away from Cincinnati every day. The town, the hometown that I grew up in. So
Yeah.
surrounded by a bunch of friends and family that I've known my entire life. And so, having their support, no matter what happens, thick and thin. Plus, yeah, my own personal family, my wife, and now my daughter I've had for the last year. Coming home to them every day, doesn't matter if it was a good or bad day. Always in the day off right with them. So that's been a huge blessing in my life for sure, and has definitely kept me a little sane in the insane business that I am in. So.
All right, let's talk about it real quick. You finally get your shot to be the punter for the Cincinnati Bengals. AFC wildcard playoffs Sunday. No, excuse me. Yeah, Sunday versus Baltimore. No, excuse me. Yeah, was that Baltimore? Was that a playoff game? I'm trying to remember. January the 8th. That was a final regular season game, right?
Final regular season game was Baltimore at home. The first playoff game was also Baltimore at home.
Okay. The final regular season game, you punted 7 times, averaged 51.7 yards per punt. You had a net average that day of 50.6 yards. The next week at Baltimore, it was at Baltimore, right?
Playoff game. Both times were at home.
Both times home. That's right. You had 3 punts, 50.3 yard average, 41.7 net. My point is, how do you ask this? In other words, you look at golfers, you've got a big moment to break through and get a win. You know what I mean? And some guys put it together, some guys don't. Do you feel like you stepped up to the challenge and proved your worth? You understand what I'm saying? Meaning, this is why I should be the starting punter for the Cincinnati Bengals. Did it feel like that after the playoffs this last year?
Yeah, I think I've always looked forward to the bigger games. I think that comes back to even the college days.
Yeah.
Shoot, every game was a big game. If we lost one game, all of a sudden it seems like our season's over, and that's just how college works nowadays. Because we were competing for the national championship, every year. Even got to play in the national championship. My last ever college game, we didn't win, unfortunately, but yeah, the lights weren't the lights were bright, but I've been in that spotlight before, and I knew I was able to perform under those conditions. And yeah, I always enjoy. You just have a little more juice that day, knowing it's a big game. There's a lot on the line, and plus playing Baltimore, Malik the Freak Harrison, who I knew very well, my class of 2016.
Yeah.
He was punt rushing that day, so I had to show out for him and make sure he actually got close a couple times on a couple of those punts, very, very close, fingertip length, and he would have maybe got a finger on one of those. But so I had to show out for him a little bit, and yeah, I enjoy those moments. I look forward to those for sure.
Do you sit here now? Do you feel, is there a sense of confidence going forward now that you're the punter for the Cincinnati Bengals? You understand what I'm saying? Meaning, can you ever, you want to feel that way, but you don't ever want to take it for granted, right? So where's that fine line,
Well, you certainly can't get comfortable at this level, even after you have a moderate amount of success. Like you said, it's always, what have you done for me lately? And even if there's not a guy you're competing with directly, there's always 100 guys that are out there knocking on the door. And if you're not getting it done that week, coach is going to be looking for somebody else. So yeah, you certainly can't relax in this business. I mean, every week is a new job interview in a way. So it certainly keeps you on your toes, and makes you always striving to be the best punter, or just player that you can be.
Yeah. What always impressed me about you is you kind of had almost like the makings of an Australian rules type punter, but you were from LaSalle High School and Lawrenceburg, Indiana. But Ohio State has become punter you, hadn't it, in the last couple of years? I mean, with you and who's the fellow I'm thinking of from Australia?
Cameron,
Cameron, yeah.
Or Jesse's there now. He's doing a great job. I redshirted under Cameron, so that could have been the Australian mix that I had in a way. My first 2 years, basically, I was doing the Australian style, but as an American. So that was an interesting adaptation. But I think it made me a better punter for it. Just the more that you can do makes you more versatile. And luckily, I was athletic enough to get away with that. And then obviously they go back to an Australian with Jesse, and he's killing it and lighting it up. So yeah, even with how few Ohio State does punt, we certainly try to make the most of it. And I think we know, if we get one punt in a game, that might be the only time. You could score on the next 7 possessions. That's very, very likely, and most likely, actually, most games that would happen as a Buckeye. So
yeah, exactly. By the way, Jim Trussell said the biggest play in football is the punt, or the most important play in football is the punt. The guy who preceded Luke Fickell and Urban Meyer, and then John Wiltz, big time coach from way back in the 20s. I used to make fun of Trussell about it, and he took me in his office one time, and he pulled out John Wiltz's book, and there was a whole chapter there. The most important play in football is the punt. So he was kind of stuck, and I'm just going, no, the most important play of football is any touchdown. But we got into a little bit of a spat there, but it was pretty funny. But last thing, Drue, well, you keep tabs obviously with Ohio State, right? I mean, what is it like being 2 years out, going on 3? And like you were talking about a while ago about Mick Marotti being your ear right now, making you do something, flip a tire or something, right? Although the specialist, he was probably a little more gentle. No, I'm just messing with you. But what do you miss most about college that, wow, and you kind of go, I could go back and do that for a couple more years if you didn't have a wife, and daughter. You know what I'm talking about?
What do I miss the most, man? I mean, like I talked about, the NFL is different. You certainly see the business side of it. I think our locker room is about as close as you can get at this level. Maybe it's because there's a lot of Buckeyes on the team, and we kind of saw that brotherhood firsthand while we were at Ohio State, and so it could be something like that. But it's a different feeling, when you're sitting next to a locker buddy you had all through training camp, and then after one preseason game, that locker's empty. And it's just like, oh man, it's just like a culture shock, just reality. Like, that I could be gone the next week. This is not forever. I cannot get comfortable. So you always kind of have that in the back of your head. But I'll tell you what, some things I don't miss though. I do remember my first year removed from Ohio State, waking up in the middle of winter, and then I'm waking up at 8, 9 o'clock, slept in a little bit, and I scroll over my phone and I see mat drill video from the day that literally that morning, probably a couple hours before, already getting uploaded to Twitter. I'm like, some of those workouts I do not miss. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy my very lackadaisical biking around town now as my cardio instead of killing myself at 6 in the morning. But I mean, some of those moments though, you're gonna remember forever, and you're always gonna have that with those guys. So I'm glad I went through it, but some of that stuff we had to do was borderline insanity for sure.
Yeah, who says workouts can't be fun and profitable, right?
There you go.
Yeah. Well, hey, Drue Chrisman, man, boy, I appreciate you joining the Tim May Show, man. And I knew this would be fun. And number two, you were always one of the more creative guys ever to come through. Yet you had this ability to win kind of like cornered, if that's the right term, to look totally sane, man. That's what you've got going for you as a punter. I mean, that's the edge you've got in that realm. Do you know that?
Yeah, I think that's just as a
Me, I didn't do anything. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think you gotta have that as a specialist. Because our job is just so, I mean, it happens in fractions of a second. I mean, you go out there for one play and you got 3 seconds to operate, and then you're jogging back off the field. So, if you're not able to just click it in and lock it in for that 1 second, you're kind of a mess. And I think with that kind of high pressure and more mental than physical toll that you really have, you kind of got to have an outlet to de-stress a little bit, so you're not as tense in that moment. And I've always found, being that creative and, creating a video or just doing other just random things off the field has always kind of helped me decompress in a way. And yeah, I've really enjoyed doing that lately, and I feel like it has made me even a better punter and, player in general. So
Yeah. Tell me this though, obviously you watched the playoff game against Georgia. It came down to a field goal attempt. 50 yards is no chip shot. Like you just said, you may be on the field a total of like 40 seconds in a game, but every time it matters, you were the holder. What did you feel right there in that moment for Ruggles and his group?
It's a tough spot to be put in. I mean, I don't think we were really ever put in that kind of situation
Right.
while I was in college. I mean, that is a special position. Certainly, you kind of dream about that as a kicker, but when it actually happens, you're like, man, like you said, in 40 seconds, that moment could completely gone, and all of a sudden, the rest is history, and you have no way to go back and change it. And I think he was killing it up to that moment in the game too. And I knew immediately after that though. I knew kind of what the aftermath was going to look like. It was unfortunate, but just that's kind of the nature of the job as a kicker. Because I'd kind of seen it firsthand with Durbin. If you remember back in the Fiesta Bowl, the first time we played Clemson, he missed a couple field goals. And college football fans are crazy, especially Ohio State fans. You love them, and they're very passionate, and they wear their heart on the sleeves. And I just was kind of just hoping, he was able to kind of let some of that stuff roll off of him. And I've never met the guy personally, but just from the interactions I've seen him have with other guys and talking to other guys, he seems like he had a good head on his shoulder. So I think he'll be just fine. And one kick doesn't determine, a player for sure. I know that's probably, people might look back on his whole career and just think about that kick, but he's a heck of a kicker. And I think he's going to be successful in whatever he ends up doing. And I hope that's what people really remember him for. So
Before you go though, let me ask you this though, for the guy who's always taken for granted in those situations is the holder, because everybody can see the deep snap, and then the next thing you look for is the kick. How tough? Because do you still hold? I don't even know. I didn't even. Yeah, for the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How tough is that job? Knowing you saw what happened to Tony Romo a long time ago. You know what I'm talking about, and they never got back to that spot. The Cowboys. How just like zoned in are you in a moment like that too? You know what I mean? The holder, who's sort of he's considered the kick tee. You know what I mean? I mean, really, how zoned in are you?
After you've done it so many times, you almost don't even think about it. Like I
But
said,
you
you got to
got to
be
a
able,
little bit, right? You don't
you
ever
got to
want
be
to
able
take
to
it for
click it
granted.
in. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't be thinking about some random thing off the field. But yeah, time and repetition. You almost it's just muscle memory at this point. But certainly as a job, as a holder, you want to be almost invisible. You almost want to not even think that he's out there. Because most of the time that a holder ever gets mentioned is a Tony Romo kind of situation. So
Yeah.
you definitely don't want to. You just want to be invisible. Go out there. People don't even know that you're really on the field, and come off, and that's how you know you did your job. I think the same thing kind of as a long snapper. If people don't notice you're on the field, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, leave all the attention to the kicker. I certainly don't. You want to try to make their job as easy as possible, because, in my opinion, they certainly have the hardest job of the specialists, and just the kind of pressure that can get put on those guys. I'm glad I have a great seat for that, and not actually having to kick that ball through those yellow uprights. So
Yeah. Hey, last question. I always say, but that's my calling card. I always ask 10 more, but this is the last one. The most unusual thing for a meal or whatever you have delivered so far is what?
most unusual meal.
I like the way you were
Well,
trying to carry all the water bottles.
I was gonna say that brought an intent. That's the first thing I would say, but it's actually probably one of the first grocery store visits. So if you didn't know, you can go to some Walgreens or dollar store, and you can have your DoorDasher basically go shop for you. We have a debit card, and they load up the points on the debit card. So when they go check out, you're just using whatever they loaded up on the card, whatever the order was. So one of my first ones ever was actually a pregnancy test. And I was like, oh man, I don't even know where this. I had to go ask like the clerk, like, where is this at? Obviously, we have a child, but my wife, she's always dealt with that. But I was like, this makes sense. I was like, if you're gonna have someone go pick something up for you, it's either gonna be snacks or something you don't want to have to go pick up yourself. So
Yeah. Wow.
luckily, we got the pregnancy test to them. I hope whatever they were hoping for, it worked out, and maybe I showed somebody they were pregnant or something. So that's
Wow. You
another
played a
part of the
hand,
job.
man.
Played a hand and creating a baby in a way.
Yeah. I'm gonna call them, order 6 bags of ice and see how you deal with that.
That'd be a good workout. There you go. I
Yeah. Well,
appreciate
the
the
good thing
workout.
is by the time you get there, it'll be half gone. It'll be a lot lighter, the way I look at it. But anyway,
That's true. Yeah.
hey, Drue Chrisman, thanks for joining me, my man. I really enjoyed it. And you ever down my way, man, I might end up having to order something. I mean, have any of your fellow players pulled any pranks on you yet? Have they tried to get you?
Not yet.
From standpoint of ordering?
We're on this summer break right now, so most of them are out of town. There's really only a handful of us in town. I did get an order from the stadium the other day. It was from one of our ladies in the business
Yeah,
office, and
saw that.
so that was kind of funny to pull up to, kind of my work worlds colliding there. And she was like, "What is going on?" I don't think she had seen the video yet, but she's very aware of it now, and I wouldn't be surprised if I get a couple of orders from the guys when they get back in town. So.
Gotcha. Well, Drue Chrisman, man, thanks for joining me. And ladies and gentlemen, until next week for the Tim May Show, we'll see you then.